I've decided to start a new life without you." The words hung in the air of the upscale restaurant where we'd gathered to celebrate my daughter's college graduation. Gregory, my husband of 28 years, stood with his champagne glass still raised, his announcement displacing the toast he was supposed to be making to Amelia's achievements. The clinking of silverware ceased. Conversations halted mid-sentence. 50 pairs of eyes darted between Gregory and me, waiting for my reaction, for the tears, the shouting, the dramatic exit everyone expected. Instead, I smiled. "Congratulations on your honesty. My name is Bianca Caldwell. I am 54 years old, and until this moment, I had been playing the role of the devoted wife and mother perfectly. I put my own career aspirations on hold to support Gregory through 3 business ventures, 2 career changes, and countless finding himself phases. I raised our brilliant daughter Amelia, who sat beside me now, her graduation cap still perched on her head, her expression frozen in horror. From the corner of my eye, I could see Cassandra Wells, Gregory's much younger girlfriend, shifting uncomfortably at the back table where she sat with people I had considered friends for decades. The same friends who apparently knew about the affair but never thought to tell me. The same Cassandra who had attended our Christmas parties, who had once called me for advice about her career. With practiced calm, I reached into my handbag and pulled out a sealed cream-colored envelope. I placed it gently beside Gregory's plate. "What's this?" he asked, his triumphant expression faltering. "Something for you to read later," I replied, keeping my voice steady. I turned to Amelia, whose face had gone pale. I kissed her cheek. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. This day is still about your accomplishment." Then I stood, smoothed my dress, and addressed our stunned guests. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." With that, I walked out of the restaurant, my head held high, feeling 50 pairs of eyes following me. The heavy door swung shut behind me, cutting off the beginning of anxious murmurs. Outside, the Augusta summer heat hit me like a wall, but I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I could breathe freely. Behind me, I heard the restaurant door open and slam shut, followed by Gregory's voice, no longer confident, but high-pitched and frantic. "Bianca, what the hell is this? What have you done?" I kept walking, allowing myself a small smile. The envelope I'd handed him contained the beginning of my revenge, one I'd been meticulously planning for months. I had always been the practical one in our marriage. While Gregory dreamed big and took risks, I maintained the stability our family needed. I was the one who saved for Amelia's education, when Gregory invested unwisely in his friend's restaurant venture. I was the one who worked extra hours as a finance manager at Truvanta Corp. When his midlife crisis led him to quit his stable position, to follow his passion, selling handcrafted furniture. A passion that lasted approximately 6 months before he grew bored. My own dreams, opening a financial consultancy for women, were perpetually on hold. After Amelia graduates, I told myself. After Gregory finds stability. 3 months ago, I noticed discrepancies in our joint accounts, small transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Having spent 20 years managing our family finances, these irregularities stood out like red flags. I could have confronted Gregory immediately, but something held me back. Perhaps it was intuition, or perhaps it was the growing distance between us over the past year. Instead, I began quietly investigating. What I discovered was worse than I imagined. Gregory had been systematically moving funds to a separate account for over a year. He had also been taking Cassandra to expensive restaurants, purchasing jewelry, and looking at beachfront property, all while telling me we needed to tighten our belts for retirement. Then came the text messages I discovered when Gregory left his phone unlocked. Messages about their new life together. Messages about how he was finally breaking free. Messages about their plans for the day after Amelia's graduation, the day he had chosen to make his grand exit from our marriage. What Gregory had forgotten, or perhaps never fully grasped, was that I had been a financial professional for 30 years. I understood money trails. I knew how to trace assets. And most importantly, I remembered the prenuptial agreement we had signed 28 years ago, when I had more family money than he did. The agreement he had insisted upon, ironically to protect his future earnings, contained a fidelity clause that would prove to be his undoing. While Gregory plotted his escape with Cassandra, I was building my case. I consulted with attorneys. I documented every hidden transfer. I gathered evidence of their affair. I prepared divorce papers. I timed everything perfectly, knowing Gregory would want to wait until after Amelia's graduation to avoid ruining her big day. What he didn't expect was that I would serve the divorce papers the morning of the graduation, before his planned announcement, but with the papers still safely hidden in court records, not yet accessible to him. What Gregory didn't know was that I was always 3 steps ahead. I didn't return to the restaurant. Instead, I drove to our home, a spacious colonial in Augusta's historic district that we had purchased 15 years ago. The house that Gregory had already promised to Cassandra, according to text messages that he didn't realize I had seen. I parked in the driveway and calmly entered what had been our shared space for over a decade. Everything looked the same. The family photos on the walls, the antique grandfather clock that had been my father's, the worn leather couch where Gregory and I had once dreamed of our future together. Yet everything had changed. I went upstairs to the master bedroom and opened the closet. Gregory's clothing was already packed in suitcases, hidden in the back, ready for his planned departure tomorrow. I smiled at his predictability. He had always been meticulous about clothing, but careless about the important things. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages from friends at the restaurant, from Amelia, even from Gregory's sister Diana, who had flown in for the graduation. I responded only to my daughter. "I'm okay. This isn't your burden to carry. Enjoy your graduation day. We'll talk tonight. I love you." I had protected Amelia from the truth for months, not wanting to overshadow her final semester with family drama. She would be angry that I hadn't told her, but I knew she would understand eventually. Amelia had inherited my practicality along with her father's charisma, a powerful combination that had helped her graduate with honors. 3 hours later, I heard Gregory's car in the driveway. The front door slammed open. "Bianca!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "Where are you?" I was sitting in the living room, calmly reviewing documents on my laptop. I closed it as he stormed in, his face flushed with anger, the envelope clutched in his hand. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, waving the papers. "You served me with divorce papers? Today of all days?" "I thought it aligned nicely with your plans," I replied calmly. "You wanted to start your new life. I'm simply helping facilitate the transition." "You had no right to—" "I had every right," I interrupted, my voice steady. "Just as you had every right to choose Cassandra. We all make choices, Gregory." "The prenup expired years ago," he said, his voice suddenly smug. "Any lawyer will tell you that." I allowed myself a small smile. Actually, it didn't. Section 12 specifically states that the fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage. Your lawyer should have explained that to you. Oh wait, you didn't consult one, did you? The color drained from his face as reality sank in. The prenup he had insisted upon to protect his potential wealth would now cost him everything. The house, the vacation property in Savannah, his portion of our retirement accounts. His grand gesture at the restaurant had just become the most expensive announcement of his life. "You can't do this to me," Gregory said, collapsing onto the couch. "We built this life together, and you chose to end it," I replied, though not in the way you planned. Gregory's phone buzzed persistently in his pocket. He glanced at it, then ignored it. Cassandra, no doubt, wondering where he was and why he wasn't following their carefully orchestrated plan. You've always been calculating, Bianca. But this is cold, he said, trying a different approach. What about our history? 28 years together means nothing? I studied him. This man I had loved for nearly 3 decades. The man who had held my hand through 2 miscarriages before we had Amelia. The man who had once surprised me with a weekend trip to Charleston for our 10th anniversary. When had he changed? Or had he always been this person, and I had been too devoted to notice? Our history meant everything to me, I answered truthfully. That's why your betrayal hurt so deeply. His expression softened momentarily, perhaps seeing an opening. Then maybe we can fix this. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Gregory. This was a calculated plan spanning more than a year. You systematically moved our money. You looked at property with her. You planned to announce our separation publicly to humiliate me. His face hardened again. You're exaggerating. Am I? I picked up my phone, opened the recording app, and played his own voice. After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. A public setting is better. She won't make a scene in front of everyone. Then Cassandra's voice. And she has no idea about the money. Gregory again. None. Bianca trusts me completely. That's her weakness. The blood drained from his face. You recorded our conversations? That's illegal. Not in Georgia when one party consents, I responded. And not when it's in your own home. I didn't record your private moments with Cassandra. I'm not cruel. Just the conversations about your plans to defraud me. Gregory stood suddenly, agitated. I need to make some calls. Of course, I said. Your attorney might be a good start. I'll be staying at Diana's tonight. Diana's? He sputtered. My sister's house? I nodded. She's quite upset with you, actually. She was the one who first spotted you and Cassandra together last Christmas. She didn't tell me immediately. She confronted you first. You promised her it was nothing, that you would end it. When she realized you hadn't, she came to me. This was another blow he hadn't anticipated. Diana and I had always been close, but Gregory never imagined his own sister would choose my side. Everyone's betraying me, he muttered. Ironic, isn't it? I gathered my purse and a small overnight bag I had packed earlier. You have until tomorrow evening to remove your things from the house. After that, the locks will be changed. As I headed toward the door, Gregory called after me, desperation in his voice. What about Amelia? Have you thought about how this affects her? I paused, anger finally breaking through my calm facade. Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield, Gregory. You certainly weren't thinking about her when you were planning your new beachfront life with Cassandra. His phone buzzed again. This time, he looked at it and groaned. Problem? I asked. Cassandra is at the apartment already. She's moved her things in. I couldn't help but smile. The apartment you put in both your names? The lease you signed last month? Gregory nodded, looking confused. You might want to check with the leasing office. That application was flagged for credit issues and never completed. The agent called our home phone to verify information. I handled it myself. I walked out the door, leaving Gregory to face the first of many consequences. His perfectly planned new life was unraveling faster than he could process. Diana lived in a charming bungalow across town, close to the university where she taught literature. When I arrived, she greeted me with a fierce hug. I just heard from Amelia, she said, pulling me inside. Are you okay? I'm better than I expected, I admitted, following her to the kitchen where a bottle of wine was already open. I never thought Gregory would make such a spectacle, Diana said, pouring 2 glasses. The restaurant? In front of everyone? He's lost his mind. It was meant to humiliate me, I explained, accepting the glass. A public rejection so I couldn't fight back without looking hysterical. Diana's face darkened. My brother always did have a flair for drama, but this is beyond anything I expected from him. We settled in her sunroom, surrounded by potted plants and bookshelves. Diana had never married, preferring her independence and academic pursuits. Over the years, I had sometimes envied her freedom. "What did you put in that envelope that made him so upset?" she asked. I explained the contents, the divorce filing, the evidence of his financial deception, and most importantly, the prenuptial agreement that would leave him with far less than he had planned. "The prenup," Diana mused. "I remember when he insisted on it. Father had just given him that money for his first business, and he was so worried about protecting it." She laughed bitterly. "The irony is delicious." My phone rang. Amelia. I took a deep breath before answering. "Mom," she said immediately, her voice strained. "I'm coming over to Aunt Diana's." "Honey, you don't have to—" "I'm already on my way," she interrupted. "Dad is telling everyone you've lost your mind, that you've been planning this for months. He's saying horrible things." Of course he was. Gregory always rewrote narratives to cast himself as the victim. "Let him talk," I said. "The truth will become clear soon enough." 20 minutes later, Amelia arrived, still in her graduation dress, but with her makeup smudged from crying. She fell into my arms like she used to as a child after a nightmare. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice muffled against my shoulder. "I didn't want to ruin your final semester," I explained. "You worked so hard for this day." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "Well, Dad took care of ruining it anyway." We moved to Diana's living room, where Amelia finally got the full story: how I had discovered the affair, the financial deceptions, and the plans Gregory and Cassandra had made. "I knew something was off with Dad," Amelia admitted. "He's been different, distracted, always on his phone. But I never imagined—" "None of us want to see these things in people we love," Diana said gently. My phone buzzed with a text message from Philip Anderson, my attorney. The emergency filing had been approved. The accounts I had identified were frozen, pending the divorce proceedings. Gregory now had limited access to funds, enough for living expenses, but not enough to follow through on the property purchases he had planned with Cassandra. I showed the message to Diana and Amelia. "Good," Amelia said firmly. "He deserves it." My daughter's loyalty warmed me, but I wasn't naive. "He's still your father," I reminded her. "Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us." Amelia shook her head. "Maybe someday, but right now I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, all while planning to blow up our family hours later." The doorbell rang, interrupting our conversation. Diana went to answer it, returning moments later with a troubled expression. "It's Gregory," she said. "And he's not alone." I steeled myself as Diana led Gregory and Cassandra into the living room. Cassandra looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight from one foot to the other, her eyes darting around the room. She was 37. Not exactly a trophy wife, but still 17 years my junior, with shoulder-length blonde hair and the kind of confidence that comes from never having faced real hardship. Gregory, by contrast, looked furious. His earlier desperation had hardened into anger. "Bianca, you need to stop this insanity," he demanded. "Unfreeze the accounts. We can discuss this like reasonable adults." Amelia stood up, placing herself slightly in front of me. "Maybe you should have tried being reasonable before announcing to everyone that you were leaving Mom." Gregory's eyes widened, as if just noticing our daughter. "Amelia, this doesn't involve you." "Doesn't involve me?" she echoed incredulously. "You blew up our family on my graduation day and it doesn't involve me?" Cassandra touched Gregory's arm. "Greg, maybe we should go." He shook her off. "No. I'm not leaving until Bianca agrees to be rational about this." Diana folded her arms. "My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational person in this scenario. You're the one who created this mess, Gregory." I remained seated, watching the drama unfold. For years, I had been the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over conflicts and kept everyone happy. That role was exhausting, and I had finally set it down. The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing, I said calmly. That's in 3 days. The judge will determine appropriate asset division at that time. 3 days? Gregory sputtered. What am I supposed to do for 3 days? You have your personal account, I reminded him. The one you've been funneling money into for the past year. That should be sufficient. Cassandra's head whipped toward Gregory. You have a separate account? With how much in it? An interesting dynamic was emerging. Clearly, Gregory hadn't been entirely forthcoming with Cassandra either. Gregory ignored her question. This is vindictive, Bianca. This isn't like you. Perhaps you never really knew me, I replied. Just as I apparently never really knew you. Amelia turned to Cassandra. Did you know he was going to announce it like that? At my graduation celebration? Cassandra had the decency to look ashamed. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately. The announcement today was unexpected. Gregory shot her a betrayed look. Cracks were already forming in their united front. I think you both should leave, Diana said firmly. You've upset Amelia enough for one day. Amelia, Gregory pleaded. You understand that relationships change, don't you? Sometimes people grow apart. My daughter's face hardened in a way I had never seen before. What I understand is that you're a coward who couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 jobs to help pay for my textbooks because you said money was tight. Gregory paled. That's not how it was. It's exactly how it was. Amelia cut him off. Please leave, Dad. I can't look at you right now. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Gregory turned to go, Cassandra trailing behind him. At the door, he paused and looked back at me. This isn't over, Bianca. I'll fight you on this. I met his gaze steadily. You're welcome to try. After they left, Amelia collapsed next to me on the sofa, tears streaming down her face. I've never talked to Dad like that. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. Sometimes standing up for what's right is painful. Diana brought us fresh glasses of wine. To new beginnings, she said, raising her glass. Indeed, I thought. This ending was just the beginning of something new. The preliminary hearing took place in a small courtroom on a rainy Tuesday morning. I arrived with my attorney, Philip, while Gregory came with a lawyer he had hastily retained, a young associate from a firm that specialized in corporate law, not family matters. Gregory's poor choice of representation was yet another consequence of his rushed planning. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes and no patience for dramatics, reviewed the prenuptial agreement carefully. This document appears to be in order, she said, looking over her reading glasses at Gregory's attorney. Do you contest its validity? The young lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the length of time that has passed. Section 18 clearly states that the duration is for the term of the marriage, plus any legal proceedings resulting from its dissolution. The judge read aloud. There is no expiration date indicated. Gregory leaned forward to whisper urgently to his lawyer, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. Furthermore, the judge continued, the evidence of systematic fund transfers appears to violate the financial disclosure requirements in Section 23. She shuffled through the papers, then looked up. I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. Mr. Caldwell's personal account will remain accessible to him. The family home will remain in Mrs. Caldwell's possession during proceedings, as stipulated in the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause. Gregory's face flushed dark red. This is outrageous, he muttered, loud enough for me to hear. The judge fixed him with a stern look. Mr. Caldwell, I suggest you review the agreement you signed more carefully. This court will reconvene in 30 days for the full hearing after discovery is complete. As we left the courtroom, Gregory caught up to me in the hallway. Bianca, please. We need to talk about this reasonably. 28 years together has to count for something. It counted for everything, I replied, until you decided it didn't. I walked away, leaving him standing alone in the courthouse corridor, the weight of his choices finally beginning to sink in. Word spread quickly through our social circle. Friends called daily, some offering support, others seeking gossip. I maintained a dignified silence about the details, simply saying, Gregory and I are separating. These things happen. Meanwhile, Gregory's carefully constructed facade was crumbling. The image he had cultivated, successful businessman, devoted family man, was tarnished beyond repair. The financial freeze meant he couldn't follow through on promises made to Cassandra. The beachfront property they had been planning to purchase fell through. The luxury car he had put a deposit on had to be canceled. 2 weeks after the hearing, Diana called me, her voice tinged with amusement. Have you heard the latest? Cassandra moved out. Already? I wasn't entirely surprised, but the speed was impressive. Apparently, she discovered that Gregory's business isn't doing as well as he claimed. The substantial savings he talked about don't exist. She told her friend Jennifer that she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems. I couldn't help but laugh. He always was good at creating illusions. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. The financial security I had always maintained, separate from our joint accounts, gave me freedom Gregory hadn't anticipated. I rented a small office space downtown and began setting up the consultancy I had dreamed about for years. My first clients were 2 women going through divorces of their own. Word of mouth brought more. I specialized in helping women understand their finances during major life transitions: divorces, widowhood, career changes. The work was immediately fulfilling in a way my corporate job never had been. Amelia, who had accepted a job with a marketing firm in Charleston, called me regularly. I'm so proud of you, Mom, she told me after I described my growing client list. You're helping people during their worst moments. I'm just doing what I wish someone had done for me earlier, I replied. Preparing women for whatever might come. Being needed for my expertise rather than my caregiving was a novel and empowering experience. Word count, 300. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary, a fitting end to a chapter of my life that had lasted nearly 3 decades. Gregory arrived looking haggard. I later learned that his business was struggling without my financial support and guidance. Cassandra was long gone, already dating a real estate developer from Savannah. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves from him after learning the full story of his deception. The judge upheld the prenuptial agreement in its entirety. Gregory left with his personal possessions, his struggling business, and the money in his private account, which, after paying his attorney, was barely enough to secure a small apartment. I retained our home, my retirement accounts, and 70% of our joint investments, exactly as the prenuptial agreement stipulated in cases of infidelity. The justice was poetic. The very document Gregory had insisted upon to protect himself had become his downfall. As we left the courtroom, Gregory approached me one last time. I made a terrible mistake, he said quietly. Is there any chance we could— No, I interrupted, gentle but firm. That door is closed. I understand, he replied, and for once, I believed he did. I hope you find happiness, Bianca. You deserve it. It was perhaps the first honest thing he had said to me in years. 6 months later, my consultancy, Caldwell Financial Transitions, was thriving. I had moved from the small office to a larger space and hired 2 associates. I specialized in helping women secure their financial futures, particularly through major life changes. Amelia visited often, proud of what I had built. "You know what's ironic?" she said during one visit. "If Dad had just been honest from the beginning, he might have kept half of everything." "Sometimes people can't see beyond what they want in the moment," I replied. The woman who had once defined herself as Gregory's wife and Amelia's mother had discovered a new identity: mentor, business owner, and advocate. The envelope I had handed Gregory at the restaurant hadn't just been my escape plan, it had been the key to a door I never knew existed. Behind it, I found not just revenge, but reinvention. In securing my financial future, I had also reclaimed something far more valuable: myself.